Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. And we are saying Happy New Year again because the Lunar New Year is about around the corner. We are going to be celebrating the super new moon on January 21st/22nd. So today's video is all about that and what we can maybe expect, but what you can do to prepare for this beautiful, beautiful event that is happening. My name is Masami, and welcome to our YouTube channel. I am joined with my husband, Chris, and we'll be introducing ourselves shortly. But today I wanted to start maybe right off the bat about the super new moon that is coming on this coming weekend, 21st, 22nd. It's the time to turn the energy around, and I am welcoming that very much, because we were still dealing with the tail end, and maybe the tail end as in tiger year, right? So tiger's tail was still dragging itself into January. And so this past 2 to 3 weeks probably have been feeling like this doesn't feel like a new year, right? This feels like the same feeling of stuckness. The energy of the stuck energy from 2022 came along into this first 2 to 3 weeks. And I think many of us felt the push-pull feelings, energies between the old and new for this first several weeks. And so it's not that you're not the only person that's feeling this. I certainly have been feeling it, because I believe that the tiger's tail is still visible, and it's slowly going into the woods or the jungle. Probably not the woods, but the tiger is going back into the jungle. So that little tail end of that energy is still how we started January 1st up to this point. Maybe you noticed some aggressive energy, unsettling feelings, fight or flight, or even a sense of like freeze mode. You felt like, okay, the new year started, but you still wanted to curl up. I certainly felt I just wanted to curl up under a blanket kind of thing. So the sense of I am just not able to move forward. So I think this is something that we all need to address right now. And this super new moon is going to help us to say, okay, revisit. Are you done with it? Are you completely done with the last year's energy? So that's why I am excited, but also welcoming this shift that is coming around. Let me introduce myself for those of you that are new to my work and to this YouTube channel as well. And welcome for those of you that found us in the YouTube land and in this cosmic energetic fields out there. So I have been working with people for coming up over 20, almost 23, 24 years now, on our own physical bodies, the wholeness of who we are, the wholeness of the potential of who we are. And I am a certified and trained in functional nutritional therapy. I do blood testing as well as hair tissue mineral analysis, look at your hormone levels, to other things that most likely maybe your doctors will look at or functional doctors will look at. I do those as well. But in addition to that, I will tune into your body and your whole being. That includes your karma, includes your past lives, includes your ancestral energies, and things that you have been carrying and unable to process and digest into this life, in this current moment together. And I look at it intuitively. So I coined the term health intuitive. Instead of medical intuitive, I call myself the health intuitive, because I'm interested in the wholeness of you. And I'm going to pass this to Chris, my husband, who's on the other side, joined in this video with me, and to have him introduce himself here.
Hi, everybody, and thanks, Masami. And yeah, we're a little bit attached at the hip, even though Masami does a lot of the front end of the talking. My background has some similarities. I actually have a much longer background in education and psychology, but I'm also a certified functional nutritional therapist as well. And so for me, the really exciting piece of joining Masami in this work that she's been doing for much longer than I have is to really touch on this aspect of the crossroads of physicality, our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our psychology, and how that intersects with our spirituality. So those are really exciting things for me, especially coming from a background in program development and being a wellness director. And also because of my history with injury, of having a traumatic brain injury and going through all of these steps that we do in this work to heal from that and recover from it and regain the vitality of my own life. So I welcome all of you, and I hope we have more chances to have conversations as this new year unfolds. And we'll have a few things to say back and forth in this conversation as well about that little sneaky tiger's tail that is still making its way through as we open up into this new Lunar New Year. So, Masami, I'll hand it back to you for a minute, and we'll go from there. But actually, maybe before we do, I just wanted to say that one of the things that struck me about 2022 and the year of the tiger is that tigers are ambush predators, and that I know that I had many times during 2022 where I felt like I had been surprised by something that was pinning me down and keeping me from doing the things that I thought I was going to be able to do that year. So circumstances changed, things came up that I didn't expect. There was a lot of frustration. There was a lot of uncertainty about being able to get projects done and things that I had set up for myself to do. And so on one hand, I'm really relieved to be having that move on into this new year energy. But like Masami is saying, there are some little sneaky residuals that are still hanging out. And for me, I haven't really felt this new year change until really just the last few days. So I'll just leave it with that and hand it back to Masami for now.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, I think, because this tiger tail that is still visible, we all felt it as the January came. Well, January is still right now, but we are celebrating the new year. And you might have thought, okay, wait a minute, not much has changed. In fact, a lot of that kind of the aggressive energies from the tiger year, so the last year, the unsettling feelings, like I mentioned, and the fight or flight and freeze, still we're starting to, we're starting January feeling that way. And so we saw that there were unfolding of a lot of these feelings, a lot of these energetic fields across the globe. Extreme weather was, or not just in the United States and California, but all across the globe. We are all experiencing a lot of these different things like this. And aggressiveness around political conditions and hostility unfolding in geopolitical spaces in different worlds, different parts of the world as well, as soon as January started. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, this is a new year. And it looks almost like the carryover from the 2022. Well, that's because the tiger's tail hasn't quite left now into the jungle. It's coming though, it's coming. That's why the super new moon this coming weekend is very important. And, I think it's worth mentioning that till the super new moon hits, we're actually going to still be experiencing some of these. So this coming week, I think we're going to still feel that push-pull feelings and pinned down kind of feelings economically as well. And maybe some of you felt this. I certainly have too. And maybe Chris can share this. In fact, he kind of shared some of it too, but you might have felt a little bit scattered energetically, and that you felt like, wow, I need to go and fetch my energetic fields a little bit, because it's not only scattered, but almost like you left this energy there and that energy there. So you needed to go collect yourself to feel wholeness. Felt maybe aimless, unfocused for the last 2-3 weeks. I certainly have felt that. And I've felt lethargic. The exhaustion really was still here. I'm starting to feel the difference. Thank God that the Mars is now moving direct, but barely. So it's very slow. And as you know, the Mercury retrograde isn't going to end until the 18th. But even that, a lot of the turnaround, energetic turnaround is here, but it's very slow. So you might be feeling a little bit lost and thinking, wow, the new year started, but how am I supposed to navigate this terrain? Which we will talk a little bit more later on here. But, I think we need to be a little bit gentler with ourselves. And I don't want you to feel discouraged that the first 2 to 3 weeks of January already felt like, wow, I am not moving forward. The wheels are not turning. I am not accomplishing things that I already set out to do in motion. So try not to be judgmental towards yourself because things are moving slowly right now. This January in particular is the turnaround from some of the retrogrades are slow. So take your time. And I would say slowing down and pausing and creating some stillness for yourself is going to be very important. Not putting so much pressure on yourself right now. And the fact is that the Lunar New Year will continue, the celebration continues till the full moon, and which I will be actually offering a free call, live call, where I can answer some of your questions. I can be with all of you and going over this new lunar year that is about water rabbits. And so we're going from the tiger year to the water rabbit. And I'm very, very excited to kind of show you what that feels like in our bodies, what that means to our vibration, our frequencies. But I will be doing a free call, live call on February 4th, and we'll have the information down below. And I've also included that in the email if you receive the email from us. So please sign up for our email list by going to masamicovey.com. Learn a little bit more about what we do, and that way you can receive some of these emails that I send out and special calls that we do, live calls, so that you don't miss out on that. But coming back to slowing down and don't put so much pressure on yourself, I think it's important to remember that the Lunar New Year, especially 2023, is starting out a little bit slowly. The momentum isn't quite there. Not at the speed that we experienced last 2 years, particularly last year was really speedy. So give yourself a little bit of time in the Western, maybe North America into Europe. You might be celebrating things like the Groundhog's Day. That's on February 2nd. That's a good period. That's around the time that the celebration of the lunar year is going to be, first of all, ending, so we can fully welcome this new 2023. So aim for that time to maybe revisit some of your commitments that you made, New Year resolutions, making sure that those are fulfilling to your heart, which I will mention a little bit later. Another one is February 3rd is a very important day in Japan, also in China as well. But that's the day that we actually welcome this new spirits to come into our house. And then we call it that maybe stagnant spirits to leave our home. It's a very big celebration day all across Japan. We actually put on the oni. Oni is, what do you call that oni in Japanese, Chris?
I think the English word would be an ogre. So an
Ogre.
ogre, like some kind of a giant creature that's scary and has these big fangs and big
Yeah,
eyes. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. So as kids, we throw soybeans at these creatures. Imaginary, but it's basically releasing the old, welcoming the new, but you have to clear the house of those ogres as well. So that's on February 3rd. And the last day of the Lantern Festival date is February 4th/5th. That's the full moon. So that's the day that I will be offering. February 4th is when I will be doing the live call. So be sure to check that out. And, this is the perfect time. I think the super new moon is the perfect time to return. Like I said, that kind of felt like a scattered energy back to wholeness. Come back to kind of making that commitment for yourself again. And super new moon is asking all of us to shift away from kind of this like strategic mind, wanting to manifest something, X, Y, and Z, A leading to B, B leading to C, kind of a linear mindset. Drop that concept down to your heart. So shift from your head, your mind environment to the heart environment, and discern maybe certain commitments you've already made early on in your January. Discern and revisit some of these things and say, do these things make my heart sing? Do these things that I've committed to make me smile, my heart smile? These are the things that you definitely sit down and reassess. That's what this super new moon is going to do, because the sky is dark. That does not mean that that power, her power, isn't illuminating internally. I love new moons. For those of you that have been following my work around the moon cycles, as well as some of you have joined me on the 29.5 days journey on the moon journey, know that I love the new moon very much, because that is the time that I can go internally to reassess, to reset, and to reconnect with who I am, but also with my heart center and what it is that I'm here to truly express, and to allow myself to welcome the unfolding of the 2023. Chris, do you have anything to add here?
I just want to reflect that what you're saying here, we've heard so many people in our online community, students and people that participate in our calls, that have really reflected so many of these things you're describing about, especially last year, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, feeling weighed down, feeling like their motivation and their energy was just all over the place, and it was really hard to bring it together. And so I think that one of the keys here is really getting back in touch with your inner terrain. I think that's something that you focused a lot. And just for all of you listening, I mean, Masami is phenomenally knowledgeable about the moon and these cycles. I join along for the ride on this, but this is really her specialty. She has put so much energy into learning this and studying it over the years. And it's amazing to me how much we can see about ourselves when we pay attention to these cycles. And so, yeah, Masami, let me just hand it back to you, because I know a lot of people are asking, how can we look into this? What kinds of questions can we ask ourselves to help guide this process to get back in touch with ourselves inwardly?
So yeah, get back in touch with your inner terrain means during the super new moon over that weekend, but also up to February 4th or so, to the time that we're going to be welcoming the new, not new moon, but the full moon. I would love for all of you to say, am I internally fulfilled? Because that's what the new moon is asking. Are you internally fulfilled? And what would make you feel fulfilled in your heart center? And what would bring wholeness back to yourself? So these are the things that you want to slow down enough so that you can answer. And that's going to help you to understand your inner terrain better. Because we get so bombarded with the external terrain, what's going on globally, what's going on politically, and we're always told what's maybe the best way to live, how you should be, what your purpose should be. And even though we know that those answers have to come from within, we don't take enough time, and we get thrown off very easily because the external noise is pretty loud. So this super new moon, the darkness in the sky, really takes us back to this inner terrain enough and slow down enough so that you can reassess what are some ways that you can come back from the mind and head space down to the heart center and ask your heart what fulfills you. And when you do this, and when you spend more time internally, you end up not depleting your energy so much, and you don't empty yourself out so much. So hopefully you can, use this beautiful period for that, so that you are prepared, but also your internal being is ready for different ways to receive synchronicities, maybe wisdom, friendships, connections, education, ways that you can grow as who you are, has to come from the place of when you slow down enough and empty yourself enough. That's what the new moon does. It empties your space, quiets down you so that you can tune into that. And since we're going to be welcoming the rabbit now, not the tiger, if you've ever watched rabbits, they are so playful and they're so much fun to watch, right? These fluffy things, they jump with each other and they chase each other. So bring a little bit of a playfulness around this super new moon and ask questions like, what if I did something a little bit differently? Or what if I baked a different kind of a gluten-free cake, for instance? Or what if we tried this different instruments? So Chris and I have been kind of playing around with this what if things using our voices. So we've been playing with our voices, singing voices, maybe chanting voices, using different instruments and things like that. And it's been really playful. So that's one thing. I will be talking more about the rabbit and the water rabbit that is coming in for the 2023 on February 4th, but just wanted to mention about the playfulness. And, just productivity and accomplishments aren't the only thing that define you, right? We know that. But sometimes we just get so dragged down by that energy. So that's when look up and see, how can I bring more playfulness back into myself? And this super new moon is also asking us to have a little bit of a spaciousness, wiggle room. Give yourself some time truly to exhale. Because I feel like we went from so much inhale, so much taking in, doing more, accomplishing more, adding more, that we didn't quite exhale. We didn't take the time to exhale. And for those of you that joined our year-end ritual that we do called the Waymaking, we had the chance to do some of that ourselves. But even that, a lot of us would do it and then maybe move on to the next thing, right? So let's really use this time, the super new moon, to slow down, create some wiggle rooms, spaciousness, exhale. And makes me laugh. And I just love the fact that the Gen Zs are basically saying, we don't want those skinny jeans anymore, those tightly fitted jeans anymore. We're going to wear baggier jeans, more flare pants. And, I have some of that in my closets from my college years. So I get to pull them out now and wear them. But these spaciousness, I think these younger generations are telling us, hey, let's just not get so tightly wound up. Can we have a little more space where we can dance, move, and enjoy the playfulness? So that's something I wanted to definitely bring to your attention, to your awareness during the super new moon period that's coming. And it's not just the 1 or 2 days. That energy will carry all the way up for that 2-week celebration till February 4th, February 5th. Okay. And along the same maybe message of giving yourself a little wiggle room, give yourself some space for exhale, is that leave ample room for the cosmic inspirations to enter. In order to do that, you really need to clean up your home. And if you didn't do cleaning up your closets and things like that, you still have the time. Please do that. And also, as we introduced ourselves, we are functional nutritional therapists. We work with people's physical body and our whole health. So this is when you want to begin to work on, how can I clear some of the excess weight, maybe excess toxins, maybe certain things you've consumed that you need to get rid of from your body. And this is when I use certain supplements, and that's coming into me very, very clearly for the last couple of days as well. And I use proteolytic enzymes. And I will be talking about this on February 4th, a little bit more in detail, and which supplement I use to clean my colon, clean my internal terrain so that I'm not carrying the debris and other junk in there. And proteolytic enzymes are great cleanup crew. You know, they're the custodians of the body. So they'll come in and clean your body during the night. And if you take it in the morning, you can have a little bit more energized day. So I'll be talking about that, as well as transforming your white fat. White fat is where we store toxins, heavy metals, but also excess energy. And what becomes of that, the white fat, is that it can become kind of a maybe middle area of your body or upper thighs, glutes area storing fats. That's generally the white fat. What we want to do is to convert that white fat into a brown fat. Brown fat is more energy burning. So it utilizes that fat energy and creates more lean muscles and clean and lean body. And so you're clearing things. So I'll be talking about how you can convert the white fats into the brown fats a little bit more easily using certain supplements. There's some really great science that's coming out that I want to share with you. And this is a supplement that actually we use often as well, but also there's some lifestyles that I'll be recommending around that. So I will take a pause here, and maybe Chris has something to add before we start to wrap up for the super new moon.
I'm just laughing at the skinny jeans reference. And that reminds me, for me, there's also a couple of things. One is 2022, this whole year of the tiger, it felt to me very much like having a really tight necktie on, you know, something that's just kind of choking, and it just felt so constrained, and it was very hard to feel that spaciousness. So I know for myself and just a lot of the people that we've worked with over this past year, there's a real desire and, you know, sense of hope maybe coming back, that we can breathe again and have some space. And just one final image that I wanted to share is, you know, we were listening to this Ram Dass program earlier about, he used the image of a shoe that is too tight, and the feeling of taking that off, and the freedom and the relief that that brings. So for me, there's some of that energy as well that we can look forward to as we move ahead, is that sense of relief and openness again, instead of just that constant piling on of all these things that we want to do but can't seem to get done, and they just keep building up the frustration and piling up on our plates. So I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us about this rabbit year, the water rabbit year that's coming up. And yeah, so for all of us, there's going to be a lot coming. Masami, if you haven't been on one of Masami's calls before, you should bring your pen and your notebook and be ready to learn, because she always packs it in. So be ready for that, for this call on the Year of the Rabbit that's coming up, and the sign-up details are below. So Masami, I'll hand it back to you to close us out, and hopefully all of you will join us again, and we'll see you soon.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you, Chris. I love that shoe image. That just made me exhale big. So those kind of images are really helpful. Find ways to create spaciousness so you can exhale. And that goes for, you know, what happens towards the end of December and into first 2 weeks of January is that your inboxes, I'm sure of it, mine was too, but it was filled. I mean, literally filled with somebody doing predictions. Listen to this prediction, listen to that predictions. And, you know, they are very helpful in the sense that you can say, okay, the news coming, this is the new way of looking at things. I think those are great. But actually, for me, I get too full from that. And I feel like I just don't have enough space within my heart center to feel my own unfolding, my own way of showing up to this new that is welcoming me. So I really recommend this during this super new moon to set aside all that it's human nature to want to know, right? We always want to know. We want to lean towards people that can predict the future. But many of you that have been following me, you know that predicting is one thing, but it's really living in this moment is another. So use this time to create more openness, clear your space, rest your mind, and sink in, drop down to your heart center. Just even this moment, drop down, because a lot of the predictions are all about very much stirring up your mind. So release it. You learn some things. Maybe these things will come true. We don't know. I think we all know that we will have some challenges. There will be waves. There will be some stillness, and there will be peaceful times as well as very difficult things we will all experience, no doubt. But how you show up to everything in this moment depends on where you are right now and how you carry your being in this moment. So work on that a little bit more. And, as you welcome the new year, and then as you create more spaciousness inside and you exhaled enough, just like the glass of water, when the glass of water is too full, nothing more can enter. You'll just be overflowing. So use this super new moon period into the full moon till we meet again on the live call. Empty some of it so that you can be introduced to new people. Maybe you can welcome new partnerships and new collaborations and collaborative ideas. But those cannot come in if you don't empty yourself out. So before we meet again and during this super new moon, please ask yourself some of the questions. Okay, here are some of the questions. Are my goals and intentions for 2023 still what I need to focus on? Maybe you thought the New Year resolutions needed to be this way, or the goals. But now that you have had some time to think about it, maybe you can remove some of them or tweak some of them. That's one. Next is, are these still viable for me? That's kind of the part 2 to that first question. And what is trying to unfold in me? Come back to your heart center, drop down to your heart center and ask, what is trying to unfold in this moment? And what kind of frequencies am I creating from within so that you can experience those frequencies, every step you take. But we've got to stop to ask ourselves different questions, not always about, well, what's next? Who's going to know the answers? Because really, rest assured, none of us been here before. All of us are coming into this moment for the first time as you, as me, and all of us. Okay. And thank you so much. I'm really, really looking forward to coming together for the full moon, but to welcome the super new moon first. And even though Chris said, I will hand it over to Masami first, but I'm going to actually have Chris end this call. So I'm going to hand it back to Chris.
All right. Okay, well, everybody, we hope you can join us for the live call that's coming up, and the details are below. And thank you for all of you that have come along for this ride over the past year, and we so look forward to what 2023 brings and this new energy of the water rabbit. So we will see you soon on the next call, and until then, be well, and we will see you again soon. Bye.